patriotic mobilisation surrounding the war revived Tory fortunes and helped them to win the 1983 election.
To me, it was just a waste of lives, really. For a little piece of rock like that, so many thousands of miles away, and they could send our lads out there to be killed. I mean, it's a shame, really, because all these lads what are in the army, the majority of them are just young lads who can't get a job anyway. A lot of them go into the army for the simple reason because of the unemployment level, and they go out there and they get told, "We're going to make you into a hero." You know, if you go out there and you die, it's great. You know, they've actually got the families believing that they've done such a good thing, that they've died for the country, and yet it's just a tragedy because they was fighting for nothing. They were fighting for a little piece of rock. And I don't know, as far as I can gather, there's a lot of mineral rights and what have you. That's the only reason we want it, because, the money people in this country...
We don't
want
it, Elaine.
No, the money people
we don't.
No, but that's what I meant. I mean, that's how they talk. We and us. And
that was their victory.
But this
is the last election.
But this is what's so worrying about it, that it's all this big boost of patriotism, and somehow they managed to get it still. The Tories encourage nostalgia for the days of empire when the working class enjoyed some benefits from colonial power. They play on fears of loss of status and fantasies of greatness.
We've got to take that all off again.
Why? Yes.
These silver dribbling them away with gallons of oil.
And yet we asked them 3 months ago and we can't get no coins.
No.
Well, anyway, we've got their mugs.
We've got the mugs. We've got all the presents and all the gifts for the...
clay.
God bless her.
Drink that, Paul.
I've drunk. I'm waiting for another one.
Such delusions of grandeur find their most vicious expression in racist attacks. In the early 80s, the climate of jingoism, combined with the hopelessness caused by unemployment, provided the conditions for fascist activity to increase.
Only 15 pence a copy. Open your eyes to medialise international...
Stabbings, beatings and murders of black people grew. The police did little to stop such attacks. The major political parties have failed to take up the gauntlet against racist violence. Thatcher herself has openly played on racial prejudice.
People are really rather afraid that this country might be rather swamped by people with a different culture. And you know, the British character has done so much for democracy, for law, and done so much throughout the world, that if there's any fear that it might be swamped, people are going to react and be rather hostile to those coming in.
What the Labour movement, whatever one means by it, is a very broad phrase, but what I include by it, I mean the Labour Party and the trade unions. What it has failed to do is to challenge this formidable notion of nationalism in any way at all. It has failed ideologically to challenge it, and because it has failed ideologically, it doesn't have the organizational or the political answers. It has actually, at time and time, given in to this wave of chauvinism, racism, and nationalism. And unless we start challenging that racism, then the class is going to find itself divided as it has been for a very long time.
The new conservatism has left Britain more bitterly divided than ever. Despite this, in 1987, the Tories managed to get re-elected with a large majority of seats in Parliament. They did this by putting more money in the pockets of people in work, mainly in the southeast, through reduced taxation and higher wages. Nevertheless, a majority voted against the Tories. Long-term unemployment, bad housing and poverty have brought despair and anger to the inner cities. The additional pressure of police harassment has sparked repeated uprisings since 1981. The areas concerned all have large ethnic minorities, but by no means all those involved have been black.
The events of the 80s certainly from between 80 to 85, has thrown up a lot of very deep questions for the labour movement. That the fact that you've had people doing very un-British things, like throwing petrol bombs at police officers, Tottenham, Broadwater Farm, Brixton, Toxteth, Peckham, I mean, name any area, Tottenham is everywhere. The increasing confrontation between police and black people who are not prepared to put up with this sort of racist policing, who are not prepared to put up with racist attacks. And the fact that they've chosen very unorthodox and unconventional means of organizing, in one sense throws a challenge to the labour movement, that now increasingly you've got a class of not just unemployed, but the never employed and the never employable, a whole underclass, for whom trade union traditions are very alien, for whom traditional ways of organizing are very alien.
Measures will be introduced to strengthen the powers of the police in combating disorder, to modernise and codify.
In an attempt to crush resistance to their policies, the Tories have eroded people's rights to protest and dissent.
In England and Wales, with power to confiscate.
They also want to stifle debate in the media and in the schools.
The handling of such proceeds.
As economic conditions worsen, repression could increase.
If the police and courts are lacking in the powers necessary to keep order in a free society and necessary to protect the weak against the strong, then we shall introduce measures which give them what they need.